Hello everyone and welcome to a video that's been a long time coming, the next Broughy Verified episode, showcasing all the best tracks that you guys have made and submitted to me. So yeah, this has been a long time coming because you all posted some fantastic tracks and I had to try them all out, whittle them down, make any improvements or suggest any improvements if people wanted to take them, and just work with people on bringing you guys the best tracks that it's possible. And I think we've done a pretty good job because there are some fantastic tracks in this playlist, and I would say they're certainly a lot better than anything Rockstar has verified so far. So yeah, basically there are two ways to access all of the jobs that you ever had from this series. You can either go to, when you press start and you go to online, you can go down to jobs and then my bookmarked jobs, or you can go to playlists and my bookmarked playlists. Now that all depends on how you add these jobs to your game. So when you click the links down below, you'll be taken to this page. On the right hand side, in the top right, there's a little button that says add to game. That adds the playlist to your game. It doesn't add the individual jobs. To add the individual jobs, you just scroll down a little bit and click add to game on each job that you want to add. The playlist is the main thing that you should add because it has been designed in a way that it works very well as a racing series. But if you want to add all the individual jobs just to play as a one-off or add to your own playlists, then you're free to do that as well. So we'll start with the Xbox 360 version of Broughy Verified 3. Now this is an 8-player playlist, and similar to the first two playlists, we start with a version of the Los Santos Grand Prix circuit, this time the upper loop. Obviously the first two started with the inner loop and then the outer loop. So after that we move on to Mirror Park Aeolian from Shatterbrained, which is a nice tight sort of technical jaunt around Mirror Park and has some interesting corners. And after that we move on to Weasel GP from Benjiman, which has a very nice racetrack feel to it essentially in that area. Following that we've got Grape Drift from Nobody Blues, which has some nice smooth roads around Grapeseed and it's sort of a different area that we're used to seeing. And then after that it's the Two of the Burbs from Kagrenak, which has some really interesting corners and is a little bit different to what you normally see in those hill races, which is quite refreshing. Airport Dash is next from Crazy Man, which is very tight, very technical, has some really interesting sections on it around that sort of airport area. And after that it's City Rumble from Bendy Arms, which uses the highways really well and has some really nice hairpin turns as well in it. Following that, we finish up the playlist with the Los Santos Grand Prix circuit as we did with Broughy Verified number 1 and number 2, so very similar to those playlists in that regard. So the PS3 version of Broughy Verified 3 is again an 8-player playlist, although some of the jobs can cater to up to 10 people. And again we start off in exactly the same way with the Los Santos Grand Prix upper loop. Now the playlists have been designed to be very similar as well, so you'll find that some of the races are quite similar in a similar order. So next up we have Wheel and Deal from Kabukicho, which basically has an interesting technical section around the casino and is a nice run around Mirror Park. And after that we've got Rockford Short Circuit from Icanity, which is really short, really quick, but works well with a high number of laps with a crossover. After that we've got Country Club Circuit from Oscar Bear, which is a really interesting, uses some really interesting roads around that sort of the golf club area. And then Up and Down from Tyson 007 Ian, which basically does exactly what it says on the tin, and you go up and down the Vinewood Hills with some really cool corners. Following that, we've got South Los Santos Circuit made by Tumultuous, which has a nice little hairpin turn in Grove Street. And following that, it's Vespucci Grand Prix from Chaotic Sprayer, which is a very interesting sort of Grand Prix style track, which is quite tight, technical and pretty short. Following that, we finish up with the Los Santos Grand Prix circuit, as we have with all of the other playlists, and that finishes that playlist off for the PS3. Now what you'll see is basically a little clip, a sort of a 30-second clip from every one of the races that I've just shown. So obviously it doesn't include my own races because you will have no doubt seen those in previous videos, but it shows all of the races that I've just explained in the same order as well. So all the Xbox 360 races in their correct order in the playlist, and then all the PS3 races after that. So that'll give you a little bit of a taste of what the races are like and what you can expect when you boot up the playlist. So just to talk a little bit more about the playlists, I have sort of tried to make them similar. So you'll get a similar feel from playing Broughy Verified 3 on the PS3 as you would playing it on the 360. Obviously the races are different, apart from the first and the last race, which are my own. The races are a little bit different, but they have a similar feel to them. So Vinewood Hills type races are kind of they are 4th or 5th, wherever it is. I think it's 4th in the in each playlist. Then there's one in each playlist. The city races are around those. For example, the second race in each playlist is around Mirror Park, so they have a similar feel to it, and I've ordered them in such a way that I think it works the best in the way that they're ordered for a good racing series, essentially. So yeah, the playlists are kind of the ideal way to play these races, because it just gives you a better feel and gives you a nicer sort of nicer experience of having a sort of a real racing series with these races. But obviously you can add them to your game individually. As I mentioned, it's entirely up to you how you do it, but I would certainly give the playlists a try. And also the Broughy Verified 3 playlist is very similar to the first and the second playlist as well. So obviously the first and the second playlists were featuring Rockstar races, Rockstar created races, but they both started with a loop of the Grand Prix circuit, and they both finished with the full Grand Prix circuit, which is very similar to this one. They also both had 6 races in between, so they're all 8 race playlists. They're all 8 player playlists, and they all start and finish with a certain configuration of the Grand Prix circuit. So there's quite a few similarities between them. They also have one race that is around the Vinewood Hills area as well. So they are very similar. They do have a bit of symmetry there, and they are certainly the playlists that I'm going to be using when I'm racing on GTA, because I just like playing good tracks, and Rockstar don't verify good tracks. Good tracks don't come up often enough in races, in the voting screens. So yeah, you know, I hope that when you try these races out, you will see that they are good races. Congratulations also to those guys who did make these races. You've done a fantastic job. And to those guys who didn't perhaps get in, there's always going to be an opportunity later on to get your races verified. And I will be making some tips and tricks videos about the content creator as well. So just to let you know that the next video in this series, it won't be quite as long. You won't have to wait quite as long for that as you had to for this one, because the next video is only going to contain 16 player races. So obviously at the moment, all the races that I've done have been between 8 and 10 players, and obviously the playlists themselves are all 8 player playlists. Now that's because basically it's quite difficult to find very good 16 player races, and I wanted to put them all in one big playlist. So sort of a super playlist. It's going to have 10 races in each, going to contain all the best 16 player races that you can find for a really competitive, really big racing series if you want to have that sort of thing. Big fields, and you know, as I was saying, there's no real point in putting a 16 player race in a playlist with 8 players, because that just limits the amount of people you can have. You can only have in a playlist the amount of people that the smallest race has. So having a 16 player race in an 8 player playlist makes no sense, because then you can't take advantage of the fact that it's 16 players. So the next video in this series is going to be all 16 player races, and that's kind of the big one, you know, the serious one, which will, you know, be the most interesting, I suppose, in terms of racing on it with a lot of people. So yeah, that's to come, let's say. But certainly try out these races. I want you to click the link in the description, because that's where you're going to get the links to the playlist. Click the link in the description for whether it's 360 or PS3. Add the playlists, add the races to your game, and try them out. Definitely try them out and race with your friends, and come back on the comments and let people know what you think. I'm sure the creators would love to know what you think about them, and I certainly think that these are some of the best races on GTA. So yeah, basically now what I want from you guys is to hear about your point-to-point races, because after we've done the 16 player races, then we'll be moving on to point-to-point races. So again, put those in the description. I only want to see one point-to-point race per person, and then I'll get around to you know, testing those whenever I can. Obviously, you know, I'm going to be testing the new cars when they come out next week, and all that kind of stuff as well. So you know, I will get around to doing the point-to-point races, but I do want to have a little bit of a break from certainly track testing at the moment. But yeah, the 16 player playlist will take up a bit of my time before that anyway. So yeah, you know, with your point-to-point races, again, don't try and have too many off-road sections. Make them make them a decent length. They're often better when they have a bit of a theme to them. Make sure the checkpoint placement is good. You know, just make sure they're nice and refined before you submit them. So when I come to play them, I'm not confused as to where I need to go or anything like that. You know, make them nice and refined and a good solid race that are similar in standard to these races that you're seeing now. So I hope you've all enjoyed, guys. I hope you're all looking forward to the 16 player races, and thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time.